Superman absolutely crushes the Fantastic Four at pre-sale box office, as well as the Smashing Machine trailer. It looks absolutely phenomenal. You're live with the guy every day at noon Central, and if you hear a squeaking in the background, that's my little French bulldog girl. She's having a hell of a time with her chew toy this morning. I got my producer Nat over here on the other mic.
Hello. Maybe it's a good idea to say her name's Girl because your name is Guy.
Yeah, my dog's name is Girl because my name is Guy.
But that was my idea.
That was my idea.
That was my idea.
No, you try to name it Nina.
Because Niña in Spanish.
Yeah, but
It's
we
our
named
next
it.
dog.
Okay, so next dog, we're going to have the same name, but in Spanish, I guess, you guys.
Because it's different. It's Nina.
Okay, well, let's get right into it. The Smashing Machine trailer was the cover story, but because I'm going to try to play the full trailer, I don't want to get throttled or dinged with a copyright, so we're going to bury the lead story just a little bit. Let's get into Superman crushes Fantastic Four in the box office pre-sales. And here we go.
It's trying to connect your headphones. Oh.
Oh, and X seems to not be working, so maybe I'll talk a little bit.
It's not X, it's that. I gotta fix the window. Hold on.
Okay, well, it looks like Superman and Fantastic Four are both coming out this weekend, which is, man, they are going to be in real head-to-head competition. I think this is going to hurt both movies overall. Having one major banner streaming superhero movie coming out on a weekend, I don't think you want to go into direct competition because this is going to kind of split the audiences, but I would expect Superman to annihilate the Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four has been getting somewhat a lot of backlash lately. Okay, now
So this is coming from Cosmic Book News. Superman crushes Fantastic Four in ticket sales battle. So this is from Matt McGloin. And says, exactly as I said in my videos released online last night, Superman indeed crushes Marvel's Fantastic Four ticket sales. DC versus Marvel is back on. Fandango, Superman tops 2025 ticket sales, beats Fantastic Four. We got official word from Fandango that James Gunn's Superman is already showing serious momentum, according to Fandango, the Amazon Prime early access screenings on July 8th.
Okay, and let's hold it there for just 1 second. And let's remember what I suspected to be fake hype or fake articles showing that Fantastic Four was crashing websites for ticket sales. I said, there's no way this is happening. They're trying to create a snowball effect of creating fake hype. Now we're seeing actual ticket sales come out. It's no longer crashing sites as they claimed, but Superman seems to be doing fairly well. If Superman does get a backlash in any way, shape, or form, it's not going to happen to after opening weekend. I'm expecting Superman to do fairly well in opening weekend. Once the alternative media reviews kind of come back, that's where we're going to see if it has lasting power. These superhero movies need to make money week after week after week because they're trying to hit that $1 billion mark, if not a $500 million mark minimum. Okay, let's go a little bit more into the story there. And let's go back to the picture there for a second. And like, this is the new face of masculinity. And I'm not impressed with Pedro Pascal in any way, shape, or form. He does not make me want to be like him in any way. No. And this Superman, I mean, he pales in comparison to the last Superman we had. Especially now, there is a lot more, I think, fan support for Henry Cavill and all the things he does. They should have just paid him what he wanted and brought him back for this. But we have this guy instead.
Henry Cavill.
Yeah, Henry Cavill.
Cavill.
But we have this guy instead who doesn't really fit the super suit very well. At least that's what we've seen in the behind the scenes. Maybe they'll fix that with CGI, but that's millions of dollars more just to make him fit in the suit. He could have just worked out.
It sounds like you're saying Kal-El, so I guess in that sense you would be right.
Okay.
But according to Fandango, the Amazon Prime early access screenings on July 8th just became the platform's best first-day ticket seller of the year, outpacing every other movie's ticket launch in 2025, including Marvel's Fantastic Four First Steps. It should also be said that those Amazon screenings also had a limited number of theaters available, as they were only for IMAX and 3D screenings, he believes. Also, he points out in his video that a simple check of movie ticket sites reveals that those Amazon Superman screenings are filling seats, while the same can't be said for Fantastic Four.
Yeah, so at least Superman has like a good director attached to it. They have James Gunn that originally hyped this movie. It's getting a little bit of backlash based upon some of the trailers that came out, but people are still going to give that movie a chance. So I'm expecting a good opening weekend. Let me know what you think in the comments on what one of these movies you're going to like more. I suspect people are going to say Superman, but I also suspect they're going to say neither. But let me know. Okay, let's go into the next article. And I got a couple How You Train Your Dragons articles here.
How to Train Your Dragon.
And you keep correcting me on it. Thank you.
So people know what you're talking about. So from Deadline, How to Train Your Dragon wings in with 198 million global bow, and then Lilo and Stitch got up to 858 million, and Mission Impossible to 500.
Okay, so it fell just short of 200 million, but I think they're still going to calculate some of those totals because the resources that have been counting box office totals have been kind of slow, and numbers have been rolling in late at times. So it's right around 200 million, which is good, but I think it's going to have staying power, which is going to be good for the franchise. And that's where you're going to really see it succeed or fail. I was very interested in the Lilo and Stitch numbers because the last update I gave last week was 800 million. Now it's at 858 million. So it still managed $58 million. If it can have 3 more weekends of $50 million, it's going to hit that $1 billion mark well in theaters. Then it goes to streaming and it makes even more money. Lilo and Stitch, even if it doesn't hit the billion, was a success. And with the emergence of How to Train Your Dragon, it's kind of signaling live action remakes are back. It seems like 1 out of every 10 are actually good, but they've hit 2 in a row, so maybe they're learning from their mistakes and they're finally hitting their stride. Okay, why don't we read a little bit about How to Train Your Dragon?
Yes. Oh.
And you can just leave the other articles out if you can't find them.
Hold on, now I gotta fix this again. For some reason, our OBS has not been working because somebody decided to move things around.
Well, the computer's been acting kind of funny because it hasn't been saving really. When I opened it up this morning, it went shut down. So I'm setting up another studio with a Windows computer. I'm sure that one's going to be even more finicky.
Yes. So Sunday update, Universal's How to Train Your Dragon led the charge at the global and international box office this weekend as Hiccup and Toothless winged in with a 197 million start worldwide. Of that, 114.1, which includes previews, is from 81 overseas markets, a smidge lower than where they saw it landing yesterday, which is nothing to snort about and is above pre-weekend projections.
Yeah, and the pre-weekend sales were actually somewhat lower than I expected. So the fact that it did hit almost right on that $200 million mark is very good for this movie. And I don't see it falling off. I think it's going to do kind of what Lilo and Stitch did. It has a lot of rewatchability. They already have a lot of the CGI done for this movie. So they have in 2027, I believe it is. That's when the next installment of this movie is coming out. I'm sure they're going to release it. They're trying to use this movie to drive people to their parks because a big portion of the worlds they're building at the parks are based around this movie. Okay, did you have anything else on this? Oh, let's just give a quick mention to Mission Impossible. It did hit the $500 million mark, so good for Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Overall, it's a success, but with the budget and the marketing budget, I still don't know. Once it goes to streaming and things like that, it will definitely make its money back. And let's go into the next How to Train Your Dragon article here.
So again, from Variety box office, oh no, the other ones was Deadline. So from Variety, How to Train Your Dragon lifts off with 4th biggest opening day of 2025, Materialist serving 3rd place debut.
Okay, so this was the 4th biggest box office of the year. And that being said, I did go research what were the biggest box offices of this year. Number 1 was Lilo and Stitch, which is still in theaters, so it's somewhat competing with this movie. Then we had Minecraft, and then we had Captain America. Captain America ended up with a strong opening weekend, but people rejected the movie and it ended up failing at the box office overall. But it did do better than this movie in its opening weekend. The difference between Captain America and this movie, I think it's going to have rewatchability and sustainability week after week. But it looks like Minecraft Lilo and Stitch, even Captain America is primarily appealing to families and children, more so with Lilo and Stitch, Minecraft, and now How to Train Your Dragon. So as usual, children's films are typically the driver of theater ticket sales in the modern box office because you're selling 4 tickets instead of 1. 2 kids, a mother and a father, that makes 4. If they go watch it twice, that's almost 10 tickets total. Okay, let's go into Dakota Johnson. And this was pretty interesting what she was saying. Oh, wait, go back to the other article for a moment. And the headline was The Materialist debuted in 3rd place. This is kind of that feminist, what do you call it? Love triangle between Pedro Pascal, the guy that was in the original Captain America, and
Chris Evans
and Dakota Johnson. And this was from A24 Films, which A24 takes a lot of risks. They do a lot of edgy scripts. Sometimes they hit the mark, sometimes they don't. Nobody expected this to hit the mark. I'm surprised it made as much money as it did. I fully expect this movie to fall off overall, but we're going to talk about another A24 film in a little bit that was The Smashing Machine, and it looks like they really did hit the mark on that. So with an independent studio taking risks like this, I like to see it. I did not have any high hopes for this movie at all. It did not appeal to me in any shape, way, or form. I thought it should have been of Chris Evans and Dakota Johnson in a love romance, maybe comedy type of film. Instead, they brought Pedro Pascal and they did this love triangle.
Yes.
But do you have anything to say about this?
I mean, they keep trying to do the same movie over and over again. We saw it with something similar. It wasn't the same, but with the Nicole Kidman movie, Baby Doll, Baby Girl, whatever it was called. Now that also, I mean, it was more artsy. And that's what, nowadays, whenever a script is indie or artsy, it just has to do with a women's empowerment and her liberation and her cheating on everybody.
Yeah.
So...
And yeah, that's kind of why I wasn't interested. I'm not interested in seeing movies that have women cheating on their husbands and things like this, or their boyfriends. Okay. That being said, if you haven't liked or subscribed, please do so. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. I'm going to start putting out edited videos next week. So hopefully we can get there and monetize this channel like we did our other one, which is Nat and the Guy in Espanol. If you are a Spanish speaker, please check it out. Okay, let's go right into Dakota Johnson. And I think she's reading the tea leaves as far as actresses go, and good for her.
So Dakota Johnson used an intimacy coordinator for the first time on a new movie and said she was really great. Spicy scenes are not sexy. It doesn't feel good.
Yeah, and she's making a lot of base statements. This wasn't the only article, but she made 4 or 5 base statements recently, and one in a very big article. I think it was from Vanity as well a couple weeks ago. But she's realizing she's in some of these movies that went into pre-production or into production during the woke era of Hollywood, and now they're releasing, but the culture is shifting. The only thing she can really do is come out in these articles and really make statements that say, I'm a moderate. I'm not for all these values that are in these movies necessarily. And she's kind of creating distance between the movies she was involved in and who she is as an actress. I think she's setting herself up for the new era of Hollywood, and good for her. More actors should start to do this. A lot of these actors are stuck in that old era. They're still making political statements. They're still espousing their virtue signaling and their values. She seems to be quietly transitioning, even though she's made some movies that are now coming out that may get her some backlash, like the movie we just talked about.
Well, also because she was mostly known for the first, who knows how long, others aside from being Melanie Griffith's daughter, for 50 Shades of Grey. So of course she was always going to be literally pinned down by that role. So
yeah, I was just checking if my on-air sign was on there. I thought I forgot it. Okay, let's read a little bit of this article and then we'll move on.
So Dakota Johnson has been acting for 15 years, but she revealed during an interview on Amy Poehler's Good Hang podcast, why do all these actors now also have podcasts?
Well, we're going to go into that with the Tim Dillon article I got later. There's a reason.
that she just used an intimacy coordinator for the very first time on a recent movie production, despite earning international fame with the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy, which included a lot of nudity and spicy scenes. Johnson noted that there were no intimacy coordinators then. And then she said she was really great. It was, she said about her first intimacy coordinator, it was so cool because I'm so used to, it's a spicy scene, it's not sexy, it doesn't feel good. Johnson has acted in many spicy scenes throughout her career and walked Polar through her mental approach to such material. First, I think it depends on who the character is and who the character is supposed to be to the audience, Johnson explained. Is she a super idolized hot girl? Is she a housewife? Is she lonely? Is she scared? Is she conservative?
Well, she started with 50 Shades of Grey. If any actress doesn't need an intimacy coordinator, she's probably one of them that doesn't need it.
But she's saying she does need
Yeah, I understand.
What do you think of intimacy coordinators?
I think it avoids lawsuits, and I think they put them there to avoid lawsuits. I think overall, if I owned a studio, I'd definitely have intimacy coordinators on set. Anytime the actors are interacting on set with intimate scenes, I would have cameras on them. I want to avoid any kind of lawsuit or avoid any kind of damage to the brand overall. And we've seen a little bit of this in the Baldoni case as well, so... That was Baldoni, Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds. So, okay, let's move on now to this next one. And man, this kind of popped up and I didn't even know who was the actor for the He-Man. And now that I've seen him, my God, I grew up on He-Man, loved He-Man, and I'm scared they ruined it because this gentleman does not fit the role of He-Man in any way, shape, or form.
So from Variety by Jack Dunn, Nicholas Galinzi says Masters of the Universe has wrapped production, calls He-Man the role of a lifetime. I put everything into it.
Okay, let's go down a little bit. I've never even heard of this actor.
Except for muscles.
Let's stick here on the picture. Okay, I've never even heard of this actor. Maybe he's done some things in the past. I don't know. He's not big. I'm not against using smaller actors that don't have face recognition, but with He-Man, you may want a big name actor. You want somebody maybe like a Chris Hemsworth if he can get big like he did for Thor once again. But I've never heard of this guy, and I'm just taking one look at him, and he does not look like a He-Man to me. He looks like a feminized version of masculinity, and this is what Hollywood is really trying to portray. So it doesn't surprise me, but what I would have had to be high hopes for He-Man are quickly fading with this actor's appearance.
So he's not been in too many things. He was in The Idea of You, which is a terrible, what's her name?
Never even heard of it.
Mia Thermopolis. But that's not her name. She was from Anne Hathaway. That horrible Anne Hathaway movie. He was in a movie about a gay prince.
That role about a gay prince would fit this guy at least.
Purple Hearts, Mary and George, also about cheating royals, Cinderella.
Well, last time they did a He-Man movie, I thought they miscast it in the opposite direction by putting Dolph Lundgren in there. He really just was a little bit awkward, although he looked more like He-Man. He didn't fit the role perfectly either, so it's really a finicky thing, but I would have rather gone in the role of a Dolph Lundgren type character and missed the mark rather than the other direction, because it's going to be almost impossible to hit the mark with a character like this.
And he has said, he was asked if he was part of the community, and he said, I identify as a straight man, but I have been part of some incredible queer stories, whatever that means.
Oh, God.
It's one of the first things that came up when I looked him up. So
hits me as another bisexual actor, but that's just...
well, a lot of them just do it to, market themselves better.
Yeah, let's read a little bit about the He-Man, because I knew this was kind of in production, and I was a little bit psyched about it, but now, oh, God, let's go into it.
So Masters of the Universe... Oh, it's not updating again.
Well, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties. Bear with us.
Masters of the Universe star Nicholas Galinzi, took to Instagram Sunday to reveal that the live-action adaptation of the 1983 animated series from Amazon MGM Studios and Mattel Films has officially wrapped production, once again trying to capitalize on the whole Barbie thing. Well, that's a wrap on Masters of the Universe, he wrote. It has been an honor shouldering the responsibility of playing Adam and He-Man. It's been the role of a lifetime, and I put everything into it. There's not much I can show you, but I'm so proud of the movie we've made. Thanks to our amazing cast and crew for all your hard work.
And they messed it up with the animated series as well. They put a bunch of woke garbage in that. The director of that claimed that, oh, none of that was in there. Then it came out and it was. And he really burned his reputation with a lot of mainstream audiences as well. Okay, let's go into this article right here. And it's Ironheart.
So from That Park Place, if you don't know who they are, they do a lot of entertainment news from a normal common sense perspective. This was written by Marvin Montanaro. Dislikes surge on new Ironheart trailer, while original trailer surpasses 500,000 downvotes.
Okay, and this is starting to get a backlash. It's not quite out yet, but it's starting to become the Snow White of online streaming. This is not going into theaters. I believe this is a series that's going straight to streaming. So it's starting to get major backlash on the trailer section on YouTube and things like this. A lot of people are reporting about this. Let's go into it.
And Ironheart trailer releases and the dislikes come pouring in. The cycle continues for Disney and Marvel with the release of its recent Ironheart trailer on YouTube. It's hard to say. Marvel Studios might be hoping fans are ready to embrace Ironheart, but judging by the brutal response to its trailers, audiences are really voting with their thumbs, and it's not looking good. Both official trailers for the upcoming Disney Plus series starring Dominic Thorne have been ratioed into oblivion, mirroring the exact same pattern that preceded Disney's Snow White disaster. If history is any indication, Marvel could be headed straight for another embarrassing flop.
Yeah, and spending hundreds of millions of dollars on series like this that really you should have been able to know by the time the script was written that this was not going to do well and there's going to be backlash. Again, I think this is coming out of the woke era when it was written and everything was being produced. So we're seeing a lot of that stuff come out now, and they're having a tough time recutting this stuff. They're going to have to release it now because at least you will appeal to a very progressive audiences, so you can recoup some of your money. They're still going to lose a ton of money, but if they release it later, it's not only going to not make any money, but it's going to have backlash on the studio and the streaming service itself. So I think they just want to release this stuff and get it out of the way. I won't expect a second season of this particular franchise. We talked about the trailer when it first came out. We watched it and it looked like absolute progressive garbage.
And I think it's not so much that they can't read the tea leaves, in my opinion. It's that this is what they want to put out because they see it as this mission to showcase female superheroes, and representation is so important and it's necessary, and the fans are all toxic if they don't like it because they want to fit all the fans and all the interest into a square mold, but the interest is just not there. They
can do what they want, and they can try to tell the fans they're racist, they're this, they're that, but the fans are voting with their dollars at this point, and this is all fans of all races and creeds and colors. Even women want to see masculine roles portrayed by men. Men want to see feminine roles portrayed by women. We want more traditional gender roles. They're trying to fit square pegs into round holes by homogenizing all these characters and being able to interchange them. Even with Jurassic Park, it really seemed like the scientist role should have been Scarlett Johansson, and Scarlett Johansson's role should have been played by a male. It looks like they missed the mark with that, but I think fans may be a little bit forgiving with that. I also think Jurassic Park isn't what it used to be when
Jurassic World is the new one.
Yeah, Jurassic World, but Jurassic Park when it first came out was a cultural phenomenon. That was when I was a kid, and I still remember it to this day. Okay, let's go into what is next.
Smashing Mission.
Okay, yeah, and this was the big story of the day, at least for me. When I was gathering articles and things for today's pop culture news, this kind of came up outside of my normal resources, and I seen the trailer, and I was absolutely jaw dropped by this thing. This thing looks phenomenal. It's based upon a true story about a Olympic wrestler who became an MMA fighter, and his struggles. It's filmed very gritty. It's somewhat of a period piece, not that old, but it's not set in the exact new modern era, and I think they hit the feeling very well. Emily Blunt is in this. They use real MMA fighters, real boxers. The Rock's in it. He's the main star, and he seemed to do a phenomenal job. I know who Mark Kerr is, and Mark Kerr talks a little weird. He's a little bit of a weird character overall. He's a little bit... just say this, The Rock really hits the way he talks and his mannerisms spot on, because I watched a lot of interviews with Mark Kerr, and man, I really am hopeful for this movie now. When I first heard this movie was in production, I figured they're going to do a bad job with this, but I looked at the budget of this movie, and it was $40 million, and they got The Rock, they got Emily Blunt, they got a lot of other big names put in this movie. So the actors really believed in this movie, because they did take a pay cut in order to produce this movie. I think 40 million is right around the magic number, where if you can get a good script, you can get big name actors to still sign on at a decreased pay, but still make a lot of money, but make a really good film. Okay, let's go into the actual trailer of this movie. I'm going to get my headphones for this. As the trailer goes on, it gets better and better, especially when they start hitting with the music.
And we're going to have to be pausing it quite a bit, just to let you know.
We'll just pause it a couple times. I want to see if we get hit, actually.
We will.
Probably looking at my eyes.
How did that happen?
Well, have you ever heard of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, the UFC?
That's the bloody thing they're trying to ban.
This guy is the best he has ever seen.
Do you hate each other when you fight?
Absolutely not.
How do you know Mark?
And this is really reminding me of The Wrestler, and it's nice they didn't make it extremely modern. It's just old enough from the late 80s, early 90s. I think they're trying to portray here, and I think they kind of hit it. Also, it's not... You don't have a bunch of special effects, things like this. It's filmed in a real sense. And they really made The Rock look like him as well, because The Rock doesn't quite look like The Rock. He looks a lot like the actual character in real life.
Oh, we go way back. But he's a buddy of mine.
Come on, baby. Too much?
Never.
Too much?
No.
Please welcome in his Octagon debut, Mark Kerr!
Winning is the best feeling there is. It's 40,000 people, and they're cheering you on. There's no other high like it in the world.
Oh, hold on. It paused on.
Okay, and this so far does look good. They had Mickey Rourke in The Wrestler, who actually portrayed it phenomenally. When I first heard this movie went in production and The Rock was the main actor, I didn't have a lot of high hopes. Overall, The Rock does really movies that are really polished, extremely high budget. I said, I'm not interested in it. But after seeing the final product here, The Rock seemed to have really done a good job here. And that's somebody coming from somebody that doesn't necessarily like The Rock in every movie he does, or most of his movies even.
I think they changed his eyebrows. That was one of the bigger changes.
They did a lot of other things, because he looks more like Mark Kerr than he does like The Rock. Now, a lot of people will say, well, he's too big. Actually, Mark Kerr was bigger than this. This is one of the roles. It must have been hell for The Rock to get this big, because he had to get extremely big for this role, because Mark Kerr was huge. Okay, let's continue.
Let's see if it works, because it keeps... you can see it, but they can't. So this is where they stopped. This is where it stopped for the streaming people. Oh, no, it's not doing it.
Okay, the trailer's messing up a little bit. I highly do recommend, especially it's right around that point the trailer gets really good and it goes into the emotional.
They didn't see that bit.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about it right now. Again, if go watch the trailer if you haven't. Right around the point where it stopped, like I was saying, that's the point it really gets into the emotional development of the character, and it turns away kind of from the fighting. It goes really into his struggles. I will be watching when it comes out. I believe it's coming out in October. Let me see the date. October 3rd. Again, this was a $40 million budget movie. I think it's going to be more of a niche crowd. It's from A24 Films. A24 really goes after niche crowds and scripts that really take risks. I didn't like the A24 film we kind of reviewed earlier, talked about earlier, but this one looks like a winner for me. I used to teach jiu-jitsu and MMA, so this really appeals to me. I also had to stop completely working out because I have back issues, and Mark Kerr had some major back issues. So maybe I can relate to the character. That's why this connects with me a lot more. But so far, it looks like the Smashing Machine is definitely a recommendation. Okay, let's go into Snow White, and it's number 1 on streaming.
Hold on.
At least according to Disney.
So this is from That Park Place, written by WDW Pro. If you haven't seen the WDW Pro, go look for it on YouTube. They're great. And media reports Snow White is number 1 movie on Disney Plus following its debut, but is Rachel Zegler really a comeback kid?
Okay, and I think I haven't read this article yet, but I think they're going to say the same thing that I did. I know for a fact Disney's top chart isn't how many views it's getting, because if it was, Bluey would always be number 1, but they kind of arrange what they want in their own top 10. I'm sure this is getting a lot of views the first few days on Disney Plus because nobody went to see it in theaters. So if you have Disney and you're going to watch this movie for free just to see what all the articles were kind of written about, I think it's going to do good for the first week. After that, I'd expect nobody to watch it again. They keep trying to frame this as a win for Zegler and a win for Disney. And as much as they do, they just can't. Not this article, but Disney in general.
So Disney's rolling out the red carpet for Snow White, but it's not the kind you'd expect. With the live-action remake starring Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot having arrived on Disney Plus on June 11th, the studio was quick to highlight a not-so-surprising fact. The movie soared to the number 1 spot on every major Disney Plus chart worldwide within days. There's an important caveat to make here, and we'll get into that in just a moment.
Okay, and what do you think about all this? I actually did think it was going to do well on streaming because, again, I didn't think anybody watched this in theaters, and I didn't think this was obvious. We reported on it. People love to watch the reviews of this movie. People love to hate on this movie, but they wouldn't go actually watch the movie. Now it's on streaming. I think people are going to watch the movie, and I think it's going to give it a second round of memes. There are a ton of Rachel Zegler memes, and I think they're going to get popular again because this movie is going to get some views well on streaming.
I think either that or Disney's playing around with numbers.
Oh, no, they're not playing around with numbers. They're creating the numbers, meaning they get to pick who's got the number 1 slot on Disney Plus, number 2, 3, and 4. Like I said, the properties that are actually getting the most views are never number 1 because they don't own those properties outright. They just have the rights for distribution in certain districts, such as Bluey. So that's why they don't like to promote Bluey as much as they possibly could, because they don't own it outright. Okay, let's read a little bit more about this.
It should be very clearly stated that Disney Plus has a top 10 list, but our understanding is that it does not in any way correlate to actual viewers or view time. If that were the case, Bluey would be at the top every single week.
They did say. I think maybe I must have watched WDW Pro over the weekend because, yeah.
Instead, we believe that Disney purposefully curates the list for their own purposes, and then the list is used for public relations and marketing. In other words, while Snow White likely is the number 1 movie streaming on Disney Plus in its first 3 days of hitting the service, we see this time and time again with box office releases coming to the service regardless of their success or failure. Sites using the top 10 on Disney Plus are doing a disservice to their readers. That said, we do expect Nielsen and/or Illuminate will show Snow White to have achieved at least decent numbers in the first week of streaming. Why wouldn't it? There's no cost to viewers for tuning into and viewing something that they likely didn't go see in theaters.
Yeah, I completely agree with that take. That was actually my take as well. So subconsciously, I might have locked it in the memory banks there. Okay, let's go into the next one. And I actually got this. This may be a little bit of an older article, when it June 5th. I got this from Pop Culture Crisis. So I thought it was a funny story. And it was a little bit shocking as well. But you said you were talking about this over a year ago. Let's read that.
Well, not this specifically, but I've been talking about cosmetic procedures for a very long time now.
Oh, yeah.
So from the New York Post, my lip filler dissolving treatment went horribly wrong and left me looking like a Bratz doll. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, so she was a decently good-looking lady before, but let's see the after picture. Let's see the after picture. And that's what happened. Like, the girl looks crazy. I'm surprised. This is the kind of thing where women would love to sue over. But as far as the article says, I don't think there was any lawsuit. So good on her for not suing.
No, and actually it doesn't stay like that. It says the swelling went away over the next few days. It's just because they injected too much of the solvent.
And then what do you think she did after that? Got more lip. She went to go back and get more lip fillers. So she didn't learn a lesson from the first time. And I'm sure this stretched out her lips even more. So there was probably a lot of skin from this extra skin from this allergic reaction. So they probably looked really deflated once they actually did dissolve. So she actually went back for more lip fillers. Let's get into the story though.
So, a woman's lip filler dissolving treatment went horribly wrong and left her looking like a Bratz doll. Kemia Awazi, 24, visited a popular clinic for a budget dissolving treatment, but she instantly regretted it when her lips began swelling uncontrollably.
And 1 second. A budget dissolving treatment? Like, this is not something you want to try to save money on. And this is why. Okay, let's continue.
Kimia claims their practitioner injected 3 mLs of dissolving agent instead of the standard 1, which triggered a severe allergic reaction, which is what we saw there. Within minutes of leaving the clinic, Kimia said her lips had grown so large she could barely speak and had to pull her car over. She couldn't speak properly for 24 hours and had difficulty eating and drinking, forcing her to use a straw. The swelling eventually reduced on its own over the next few days without medical intervention.
And 1 moment, leave it on the picture. And good on her for actually doing this article and actually using this picture. I think a lot of women would have been extremely embarrassed.
Oh, no. Nowadays, all women are posting every single thing that happens to them when they go do these ridiculous treatments.
Oh, my God.
It's the trend now.
She looks like a freaking cartoon character here.
Like a Bratz doll.
Okay, let's continue here.
Kimia, a branding and marketing assistant from Leiden, Netherlands, said, I was just watching my lips get bigger every minute. It was funny at first, but also terrifying. I felt like they were going to explode. She started getting fillers shortly after turning 18 with her nose, then moving on to her lips.
Yeah, it looked like her whole face kind of swelled up because her other picture, her face was not that big. And even the bridge of her nose and everything like that, it looked like, yeah, this was not just an allergic reaction in her lips, but her whole face.
After 5 years of getting regular filler treatments, she began experiencing long-term issues, including lumps and even a lisp. According to Kimia, the practitioner had been injecting the filler too deeply. Instead of dissolving naturally, the filler would shift and give me a speech problem. I spent years dissolving and refilling, but it was just a waste of time.
Okay, let's pause it again. And on this picture, this is the funny thing is she didn't want her lips like this, but there are some girls that are going to the extreme and they're intentionally getting lip fillers to this degree. This is ridiculous.
And if they are, they're going to a bad injector unless they're doing it themselves. But in most cases, if someone's just willing to do something similar to this to you and taking your money, then they don't have your best interest at heart.
No, not at all. Okay, well, let's read a little bit more actually.
So last year in March 2024, Kimia decided to remove everything and start fresh and opted for a cheaper clinic. She said it was $171 for up to 7 dissolving sessions compared to $400 per session at my usual place. It seemed like a great deal until my lips started swelling up. The extreme reaction lasted only about 24 hours before it began to settle. It made her reconsider her entire approach to cosmetic work.
Okay, and we live in Mexico City.
Maybe accept your...
And in Mexico City, I would say there's not as much licensing and things like this. So word of mouth is huge. So doctors that have good reputations that do Botox or other kinds of light cosmetic injections and things like this, you really want word of mouth or your reputation as a practitioner really matters. In the States, maybe not. A lot of people just assume anybody can do it. I'd rather
No, but
take a
here
discount.
there's horror stories about med spas that are illegal or like not.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. Is you want to go somebody with a good reputation.
Or just don't go. Accept your flaws and leave your face alone.
But I'm not just talking about this situation. I'm talking about situations in general. So I'm talking about food. I'm talking about different kinds of licensures you need. So yeah, definitely Mexico City, you've learned, ask friends and other people for recommendations of, do these people have a good reputation and things like that. Okay, let's move on to the next story. And this was good to hear over the weekend. This kind of popped up on my X, and this is something I've kind of been saying for years.
Not this. There we go. So from WDW Pro again, slowly but surely some healing is taking place. Disney legend Ron Clements is coming out of retirement and rejoining Walt Disney Animation Studios as a mentor for younger writers and animators, which they should have done from the beginning, but whatever.
Yeah, and bringing people out of retirement that they had previously fired or forced into retirement because it was not a friendly atmosphere and they knew who was kind of moving up the totem pole and who they were going to bump off of there. Disney really suffered the consequences. They brought in all these DEI hires, try to cut costs and do a bunch of other things and have their social justice shield. Now they're realizing they should have kept those senior staff on to at least at a minimum mentor these DEI hires so they could have potentially became something in the future. I think what's going to happen now is they're going to fire a lot of their new hires and bring back a lot of the people that were the senior staff if they're still available.
Or if they still want to.
But Universal has taken a lot of these people, and so has a lot of other theme parks and animation studios. So are these people even available to come back? He was, because he went into retirement. A lot of people aren't going to be available. Okay, let's go into Amazon Roku, and let's read about this one, because I kind of grabbed this headline just before the show, and I didn't have a chance to read the article, but we have been talking a lot about Roku and Amazon.
So from Deadline, Amazon Ads and Roku set landmark pact giving brands access to 80% of connected TV households. In a milestone agreement, Amazon Ads and Roku are teaming on a new advertising initiative that will give media buyers access to more than 80% of U.S. connected TV households. The new offering is expected to hit the market by the fourth quarter of 2025. Amazon's demand-side platform, DSP, will be used to place ads on top viewed platforms like the Roku channel and Prime Video, along with other services available via Roku and Fire TV operating systems.
And Amazon really does know how to monopolize the spaces they're in. And if they can't get a true monopoly themselves, they will team up with companies like Roku. And Roku is dominating the space in a lot of putting their content on TVs and things like that directly. So this is a good move by Amazon, and it's a good move by Roku. This is probably going to could benefit Roku in the long run a lot more if they can keep on good terms with Amazon and have future deals like this in the future.
So if you use Roku, you'll see more ads now.
Yeah, not good for the consumer, but good for Amazon and Roku overall to try to push smaller players out of the market. I think they're going to focus in on Disney. Disney is having a tough time in streaming and things like this. This is a good move by Roku and Amazon to further monopolize the streaming space. Okay, let's go into Justin Bieber. And I actually got this on Thursday or Friday, so this was a clip from a couple days ago, but Justin Bieber has had a lot of clips like this.
Yeah. So Dom Lucas says Justin Bieber was spotted crashing out on paparazzi for recording him at the beach. Said, "I'm not clocking to you that I'm standing on business. I'm a human effing being standing around in my car at the beach. I don't know who the F is paying you to provoke me, but I'm not the effing one."
I'm a dad, I'm a husband. You're not getting it. It's not clocking to you. It's not clocking to you that I'm standing on business, is it?
We're on the sidewalk,
I don't give a if you're on the sidewalk. I'm a human being. You're standing around my car. At the beach. You know what I'm saying? You don't think I'm a real guy, do you? You're gonna take this video out of context. You're gonna say I'm mad. I don't know who the paying you to provoke me, but I'm not the fucking one. Okay? Stop provoking me and I'm a real dad, a real husband, a real man. So don't fucking do this to me. Okay?
Alright, cool.
I'm not to be with.
And pause it really quick. And that would be an acceptable reaction from a normal person, but he's extremely famous. He's not a normal person. He can expect this. He's made hundreds of millions of dollars off of his celebrity, and now he wants not to be a celebrity anymore. You can't just turn it on and turn it off, collect all the millions of dollars, and then say, well, I'm a dad and I'm a father now. It's not going to really work. He thinks he's being provoked. I think they get paid.
But they do that a lot. I mean, they sent Britney down and
I used to live in LA, and I see these TMZ guys, they're all over the place, and they're independent contractors. So anywhere their celebrities are going to be, they're going to follow.
yes, but for example, with Britney, it was a concerted effort made, and this is just in my opinion and the opinion of a lot of other people, it was a concerted effort made by Lou Taylor to get her into a conservatorship, to actually push her past her breaking point, aside from the stuff that they were giving her. And Lou Taylor also has very close connections, even though she was fired by Justin Bieber. I'm sure that the wheels are still turning to get him into a conservatorship as well, which is why we see same thing they did to Kanye. They start harassing them. They start putting them on things.
Yeah, but you just need to stay. What? They're provoking him by videotaping him. So what?
No, by following them and making them paranoid.
So what?
Because they start giving them medications. I'll just say that help.
It's up to him not to get on medications. I used to be a bouncer in a bar. And what, I'm going to go crazy every time I want to kick somebody out, or I'm going to get, if somebody tries to provoke me, I'm just going to get violent right away?
No, you don't understand. It's fine.
I do understand. And that's
you
the
have
thing.
to watch what the
He's never learned to be calm, and cool, and collective.
He used to be.
Well, he's not anymore.
I know. What
He's
is he
getting
on?
pushed.
Who's giving it to him? What's happening with the church that he's on? What's happening about Hillsong? What's happening with the pastor
He
that
has
follows
control
him
over the
everywhere?
things in his life right now.
But they don't, though. Right now,
he
I
does.
think he doesn't even fully have control of his money, let alone the people that are influencing him.
He needs to get off the drugs. He needs to get off the alcohol, and the drugs do include prescription medications as well. But he's obviously on non-prescription medications. That would be a good start. Number 2, start working out and eating a healthy lifestyle.
The problem is that people are not letting him do that.
Number 3, cut everybody else out except for maybe your wife's family.
That's the problem.
No, the steps I just gave are super simple. Why wouldn't you just do that?
Because he can't just go off and do whatever he wants. He's
Why not?
surrounded by minders, and
So he's the one that...
Hillsong will never let him go. That's the problem. You don't even know what Hillsong is, so you
That's
can't
his
speak
church.
on the situation.
He can simply start. He can simply not go to the church.
Yes, but it's very complicated.
It's not as complicated. It's a lot more simple than people may think. And he has control as of right now over his life. It's different if you're Britney and you are in a conservatorship.
But that's what I'm saying. They're trying to get him into conservatorship.
They can try everything they want. He just needs to stay strong. The drugs and alcohol has broke his mental focus down, so he's not able to keep control over even the most simple things in his life.
The substances.
Yeah. Okay, let's go into the next story.
Let me see if it works.
Oh, wait. No, let's go back to the Justin Bieber thing. We didn't finish watching the clip.
We have to finish watching it?
Yeah. Well, it was a big argument we had, so.
Because it's not playing for the people, so let's see if it plays now.
Me or provoke me, but I'm not the one. I don't care that you're on the sidewalk. I don't care what kind of dirty work, what kind of nasty you're getting paid in the background to provoke me, bro, but I'm not the one. I'm really not the one. I don't care that you're on the sidewalk, bro. Clearly you're here for an alternate agenda. Why would you want to be here to provoke me like this? This isn't love.
You're not provoking, Josh.
This isn't love, bro. This is weird, bro. Y'all are on some real weird shit.
Because he has a bodyguard right there. Why isn't he doing anything? They're letting him get into this situation.
Huh?
He has a bodyguard right there, clearly 2 at least.
Well, just pause it. If I wanted to control this situation, I would simply come out, bring them coffee, things like this.
Yes, you can't always be...
Have a little dialogue.
Again,
and then, wait, I'm not done. And then I would pay for journalists of my own to be there as well to kind of control the situation.
Remember what happened with Kanye when he came out to say, remember all the psyops that they're trying to do with all of these celebrities? I think that's closer to what's happening.
Again, every single celebrity they're targeting, if they would have taken taken away the drugs and alcohol out of their life,
Substance.
they would have had a lot more control. They were able to do it to Britney. Drugs
How
and
did they
alcohol.
do it to
They were
Kanye?
able to do it. Kanye West was involved with Diddy and so much drugs and alcohol. It was ridiculous. They had blackmail on him. They got him on prescription meds. He needed to get off the drugs in the first place.
The substances. And who was Justin involved with as well?
You need to not be involved
They're trying
with
to psyop him, in my opinion.
You got to take personal responsibility for your life at some point. And yeah, there's going to be hard decisions.
But when you're at that level, it's hard to do
these
that.
hard decisions, it's a lot easier for him than other people. He's got millions of dollars. So
not anymore, number one. Number two,
well, he's got
when you have that much money, you also have a lot many more
I think
people
you're wrong.
circling
I
around
think
you.
They have billions of dollars now.
She didn't sell it for that much, and it actually didn't go to her. So we were talking about her beauty brand that she sold.
How much did she make?
Number one, it wasn't a $1 billion sale. The numbers were inflated. And number two,
what
it
were the
went
numbers?
to the company.
So what were the numbers?
I don't remember.
So you don't know, but you want to come say I'm wrong.
You're wrong about the situation, in my opinion, and more stuff will come out as did with Britney.
We'll report later on.
And with Kanye.
In the future.
And I don't even like Kanye.
It's expected on you now to get the numbers. The audience is waiting. Let's go into the next article.
Let's see if it works. Yes.
Okay, and this was, we'll give it 1 minute. I'll kind of set this up. I was watching a clip on YouTube, and it was of Tim Dillon and this reporter, and it caught my eye. So I said, I'll go watch the full interview. It should be kind of short. It's on CNN. It ends up being an hour and 10 minutes, but it was an absolute fascinating interview because most people would have got up and left the interview. She is starting to sound like a progressive conspiracy theorist in this, and she won't get off of the thing that right-wing comedians are controlling, are the new, what do you say it? The new...
What? I don't know what you're trying to say.
Now you're not. Now you just don't want to cooperate because you...
I don't cooperate.
You're still mad about Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
That they're the new institution. That's the word I was looking for. And that there's this huge conspiracy against progressive and things like this. And Tim Dillon just stays calm the entire time, debunks her narrative. He's a fairly moderate person. He would be slightly right of center maybe, but he's no crazy right-wing conspiracy theorist. She talks about Joe Rogan and where's the left's Joe Rogan? Why doesn't the left have one? She won't get off of that subject. Joe Rogan used to be left-wing and they forced him over into the right. And now that's why they say he's on the right.
And because he's so well known, they want to use him as this kind of piñata that they keep hitting stuff, like blaming him on about everything. But he is one of the most mild fence-sitting people, and that's good. That's why people like him.
He was on the left. He's not even. Most of his views are still on the left, but they pushed him out of California eventually, and then he moved to Texas, and he got a lot more common sense, even more than what he had previous when he did move to Texas.
And Tim Dillon has been making a lot of more mainstream appearances. I saw him on Hot Ones as well, which surprised me, because I thought Hot Ones only brought on, their people, but it's good to see them expanding because I think he has a special or something.
Well, I'm not even a huge Tim Dillon fan. I watched him on Joe Rogan, and it was just like he was kind of always over the top, overly animated. But now he was really cool, calm, and collective in this. He had some really good takes. I'm a much bigger fan of Tim Dillon after this interview, and maybe it's because this was a non-comedic interview, although he was very quick-witted and he did have some quick comebacks, and he really controlled this interview. And she looked like a freaking lunatic for an hour and 10 minutes. And he was completely polite to her, which made him come off very well. Okay, let's play some of the interview here.
So this is from May.
We'll pause it a few times.
Let's see if it works. Doesn't look like it's not working. So give me 1 second.
So we're going to try to fix these issues. We've had quite a few today.
But I ask because...
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're part of a new establishment that's being created?
I don't think I'm part of a new establishment. I think it would be pretty difficult to look at these podcasts. I know it's a popular thing right now, especially in certain media circles, to say that after running an incredibly unpopular candidate who was introduced very late in the race because an elderly man who could not be the president, who everyone told was functioning as the president for 4 years, decided to. This wind is wild, huh?
Yeah.
See? But this was a very specific circumstance in which Kamala Harris ran for the presidency.
Yeah.
Was it? And he's got a real moderate stance here, but this interview goes on for an hour and 10 minutes, and she won't get off the one subject of how the right wing's taking over the media space. The right wing, a right wing are now the elites. What do you think about the tech right wing bros? What do you think about Joe Rogan? Why did you talk to JD Vance? Do you feel bad about talking to JD Vance? You've now empowered the administration. Don't you want to take responsibility for this? Like if I were to take all of her questions and just fast fire him, but she tried to be overly nice and the way she was presenting was nice enough where it was nice that he actually answered the questions calmly, but these were not nice questions overall. It's like, get off of the freaking subject after at least 10, 15 minutes and go on to something else. She wouldn't. She was like a progressive activist, constantly asking question after question after question for over an hour. And okay, let's finish this clip.
Somewhat unpopular, and she was not a star in Democratic politics before this at all.
Let's fast forward a little bit.
Her communication strategy was, I just don't think most people are going to buy that. I think it seems like a great way to excuse running an unpopular candidate on a platform that American people want.
Okay, and that's good. And I highly recommend this interview. It was very good, and it was very enlightening on how liberal media is losing control of the narrative and they don't know what to do. It was really an insight on where alternative left-wing media and mainstream left-wing media is as well. Was constantly asking about comedians. Why do they have so much power? Why is it there are no liberal comedians? Tim Dillon said, well, there are liberal comedians. She said, no, there isn't. And then he named about 6 of them. And she goes, well, they're not successful. He goes, well, this one has a comedy special coming out, a Netflix movie coming out, this, and this. And it's like, they are successful.
And the name of the interviewer is El Reeve, and the name of the interview is El Reeve to Tim Dillon. Do you think you're part of a new establishment?
Yeah, very good interview. Highly recommend it. Okay, that's it for the pop culture news of the day. Maybe I'll talk a little bit because I'm setting up another studio in the back of the house just in case we have something like the protest that happened this weekend. So Nat can go on the Spanish channel on this front studio, and I can go in a different room so there's not any crossover audio, and I can do the English channel and we can cover the protest or whatever kind of mainstream event kind of comes up that has to have live coverage on both channels. How I kind of got this set up, I have one main light, then I have the camera, and then I have a television which is connected to the computer so I can see everything kind of going on. This works really well, but another thing you can use if you want to set this up cheaper than having a TV right in front of you is a small teleprompter. If you're going to have a teleprompter, I would recommend the Elgato teleprompter. It is head and shoulders above everything else, and it works a lot differently because I typically don't use a teleprompter for scripting and things like that. What I do use it for is a computer screen. So it will mirror anybody I'm talking to on the screen. So I look directly at the camera. I can also use it for notes and things like that. So I can continue to look directly on the camera. On this particular show that I do, I mainly use my computer and the TV screen. So you'll see me looking away a lot. But if I do want to look directly at the camera, I would want to use that prompter. That prompter is a little small. I would say they need to come out with a bigger version. Like if somebody wants to use a lens that where the camera is going to be further away, having a secondary version of this that does the exact same thing but just bigger would be phenomenal for them to come out with. But also, a lot of people are good with prompters. I'm not good with prompters. When I'm reading, you can kind of tell I'm reading. So that's why I don't use a prompter in the traditional sense. But to mirror my computer screen, or if I have my producer or Nat over here, she's actually controlling the computer. But if I want to see what she's doing, it is nice to have it on that prompter monitor. Also, sometimes if I'm doing a more complex subject matter, I won't script it all out, but to have certain statistics, because I can't remember numbers of statistics very well. I do have a bad memory. It is nice to bring them up on there. Also, another device I have is the Elgato foot pedal, and that works very well with the prompter. You can use your foot to scroll up and down with the prompter or go between pages, so I can switch kind of what's on screen. Elgato is a very good company. There is, when I first bought the first Elgato product, I think it was a Stream Deck, and I didn't have really high hopes for it. But overall, I've been in production now quite a few years, and Elgato is one of those pro-consumer brands that really everything just works. It's the Apple of like prompters, foot pedals, Stream Decks, things like this. I trust Elgato. I trust Blackmagic as a company as well. Blackmagic is a very good company. Most of the stuff from these companies are reasonably priced as well. I use a switcher board for my night show, our big show called Nat and the Guy Live. And that's great if you have multiple cameras, but if I just want one camera, I also use what's called a Camlink 4K, so I can plug any computer or any camera directly into the computer, even older cameras. So even really old camcorders, as long as it has an HDMI slot, it will plug in. Most of the newer cameras, you don't need it, but some of the newer cameras, like I use Fuji, I only have one camera that will work as a webcam. All my other cameras are just extremely finicky, and I don't want to have to play around with it every time. So the Camlink makes it extremely easy. And that's the production talk for today. I'll kind of keep it short because I did have so many stories. Usually on Mondays, I have extra stories because it gathers up from the entire weekend. Thanks for watching Live with the Guy. We'll be back here at 9:15 Central with Live with Nat and the Guy, our main show. And then if you're interested in our other channel, it's called Nat and the Guy in Espanol. And that's Nat Show at 8 o'clock tonight.
All in Spanish.
All in Spanish, all Central Time. Adios.
Goodbye.